All right. So thanks, everybody. We're pleased to be here as a innovation sponsor this year. And our main purpose here in this quick session is going to be to talk to all of you about why Facebook likes Metlife and how Metlife has really used this notion, this concept of addressability to really help drive its business. And I'm going to let Melissa Grady, who's standing off here to the side, who's our client, talk to you about that story. But before I bring Melissa up to the stage, I thought I would just share a little bit of background, a little bit of the shared vision that we have in the broad context, and then let her dive deep into it. So about 5 years ago, when Merkle started its agency relationship at the very beginning with Metlife, this is what the life insurance shopping process still really looked like, believe it or not. We still had fundamentally well-to-do individuals, mass affluent individuals being doted upon by agents who would come into the household or into the agent office, relationship-driven for the most part, very localized, and this is how the insurance shopping experience worked. You fast forward to where we are today, and there's obviously a lot of history to this. This is the Metlife consumer shopping experience for life insurance and for a number of different insurance products today, right? So we have now a direct-to-consumer business model, an experience for that consumer that takes place in the call center, takes place on the web, often a combination of those two things, and very much an omni-channel online and offline experience from a media perspective, from a distribution channel perspective that leads up to that ultimate sale. So this is sort of the transition that's taken place over those 5 years. And along the way, and to really fuel our ability to do this effectively, we've been gathering data. Metlife has been gathering lots and lots of useful data. And we really think of this as the convergence of sort of this buzzword around first-party data. And so when Metlife thinks about first-party data, they're thinking about things like what product does this person have or might they be interested in? What value do they have to me? We went through an extensive process to develop a core set of enterprise segments that sort of describe and bucket all of the different individuals out in that prospect universe and the customer universe into one of those buckets. And we also use third-party data to enhance that view, demographic data, behavioral data, and we track that omni-channel experience that the consumer is having across search, across display, mobile, video, you name it. And we're all storing that down. We're creating one ID of that consumer that's persistent over time, right? So this data asset is pretty important, and you'll see it depicted there as the CRM database, if you will, okay? So we've been sort of thinking about this data asset for some time, and along the path of that 5 years, a lot has happened. A lot has happened in this marketplace. Obviously, this room knows all about it. And it's really with what we see as the rise of what we call the addressable platform. And this is kind of where the Merkle and Metlife vision started to come together around, hey, look, we have all of this data. That data is an asset. We want to talk to people, actual people, the right people at the right time with the right message. And now we have more than just email, which, by the way, Melissa and I were just talking, is still a workhorse for Metlife, let's not forget. We have direct marketing and so forth. Now we have these addressable platforms, right? We have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have sort of some of these other, potentially, I don't want to get in trouble here, potentially emerging channels, right? That allow us not just to infer data about who those people are, translate it into cookies and sort of hope that we're getting at the right audiences through the DMP. By the way, we do that, right? Because we have to. But more and more of these channels and more of these platforms are enabling us to actually know who the person is, right? Use the data about the actual people, be relevant, be smart about that, and deliver a message through these platforms to that individual and talk to them as people. That's a sort of big theme here. And that really is the essence of the vision that we had. So this is just, sort of a view on sort of how we start to think about and bucket what do we mean by this addressable audience platform? Well, number one, Merkle has been in this direct marketing and CRM game for a long time. So we think of, sort of our mature platforms as things not to forget. As I mentioned, email, right? The phone, direct mail, these are all part of the mix, if you will. We have, and I think this sort of brings us to the Facebook discussion, these scaled addressable platforms. And I think we'll talk mostly about Facebook, but again, very, very big audiences, lots of registered, logged in users, right? These are people, and we can reach these individuals. And so these are at massive scale. And as we speak, and there's some of you in this room right now that know what I'm talking about, but I'm not allowed to say it, is we have lots of other platforms that are emerging here that are going to enable this one-to-one conversation to take place. And then not to forget the first-party platforms as well, which are things that, that Metlife actually owns, the best example being the website. Let's not forget the website is an addressable platform in a sense as well. So we said, hey, look, so this is clearly an opportunity. There's something to exploit here that's going to create value for us and create good experiences for consumers. But how do we apply it? And we went back to this very, very traditional view of the funnel, right? And I know we're sort of tired of thinking about this funnel, but we said, hey, look, here's the issue, right? Is today, right, where we can use that, where we can use that view, right, all that valuable consumer data is tied into this sort of narrow little space we call the mid-funnel. It's where things like direct mail and email are used, where things like lead nurturing and retargeting live, and these are all useful things. And we said, hey, look, we've kind of maxed out on these things, but addressability and these platforms open up the possibility. So we said, hey, look, why are we satisfied with that? Let's widen the funnel, right? Let's know more and more of the people, use more data to drive more and more qualified volume through that funnel, and let's reach up into the upper funnel, right? So now through a lot of these formats, on a lot of these platforms, we don't have to just deliver bottom of the funnel experiences, and let's extend down into that site personalization experience, right? So we said, hey, look, this expanded mid-funnel, that's the new sandbox. That's where we're going to play, and we're going to generate a lot of value. And, I think it was Tim Armstrong this morning said, hey, look, it's not really just about targeting. A lot of it is about targeting, and we love the sort of targeting conversation, but we fundamentally agree, right? So there is still an experience that has to get delivered here that's a continuous, omni-channel, longitudinal experience that is built around that human being, that person. They don't just want to be targeted and impressed. So we've got to include that into the vision as well. So to do that, and I'll get to Melissa in a second here, we have to get good at delivering experiences through these addressable platforms, right? But there's some things that have changed along the way, right? So for one, we've got to get good at the complexity associated with managing all of this context that we have. We sort of think of this as context. So things we know about that consumer, what segment they're in, and Melissa will talk to you about the segments. Where are they in the life cycle? How often am I going to see these people? What platform, what device are they on in any given moment? These are more and more things for us to know and have to keep track of. So we're going to have to get good at managing this. We're going to have to get very automated in managing this. Along with every one of these nodes that you see here on the left-hand side associated with context, there's going to be more and more content, right? So it's not enough to just speak to an audience anymore. I have to speak to them using native formats, using video, being where they're at, and that's going to cause the need for us to create a lot of content here. So we're going to have to get good at that as well. And then perhaps most tricky in all of this, we're going to have to nail this notion of connectivity, right? So I can manage all of this stuff, know all of this stuff is there, build a massive library of content, but how am I going to thread the needle here? How am I going to connect all of these dots to be able to deliver that right message at the right time? And we'll show you an example here in just one second. So there's a lot that goes into this vision. There's a lot that goes into this strategy. We're by no means done here. But one of the really interesting examples that we thought we'd share with you is our ability to use our partners with Facebook to deliver this. So in essence, right, through the Facebook custom audiences capability in that platform, which we love, through our management of the data, of Metlife's data, we're able to do things like in the offline world, understand who the converters and prospects are, build segments, build lookalike models, build predictive models in the CRM space, right? We're able to combine that with Facebook's data, Facebook's first-party data on these exact same individuals. So we're matching these people one-to-one, right? Building more and more insight, building lookalike models in the Facebook space, and then delivering lots and lots of relevant content, right, to the right person directly, right? There's no inference that's being made here. We're delivering that directly. And as it turns out, there's a lot of power in that.
All right. Yep. So, hello. So John walked you through She told me to click this with purpose, and I don't have enough purpose, apparently. There we go. I found my purpose up here. So John walked you through our platforms and what that means when it relates to people. Now I'm going to bring it back to people and relate it back to the platforms. These are our people. I'd like to introduce you to our customers. I'm going to start with segments. We've got concerned moms, the young and driven segment, and then mature planners and other segments, which I'm not going to go in today. Today I'm going to introduce you to Jean, our concerned mom, and Brett, our young and driven consumer. So Jean has 2 kids with a third on the way. This is making her think, maybe I don't have all the life insurance that I need right now. She's thinking, I need to make sure my family's protected. We've got Brett. He's a rising star at his company. He's doing great. He decided to buy a house. And as he's thinking about buying a house, he's like, I need to protect my assets. I need to protect that for my heirs and my family. So that's kind of the mindset that these 2 are in. We always start with our segments. In a minute, I'm going to explain when we throw our segments out the door. But we always start with our segments, and we say, okay, we understand these people, their mindset, what we're trying to say to them. How are we going to say that to them? So we come up with some value propositions. We have some life events. We know we've got a mortgage and a baby in this scenario, and a call to action. And then we build out the creative executions that you see. Your family's growing, you're moving, and then some peanuts for us always works. Our brand is so strong, people love the peanuts. So we've got some of that messaging within the peanuts. So we start out with our segments. We go into the platform. As soon as we get onto the platform, the segments go out the door. We do not target by our segments, and we don't use data that way. And that is why we love Facebook, not why Facebook loves us. Facebook loves us because we have good results with them. We love Facebook because of all their data. And so what we do is, as soon as this goes into the platform, we've started, as John said, with our customer data. And we did a lookalike model. The creative that we have, the amazing thing about the way Facebook creative works is it's not, if we look at our creative executions, it's not each of those executions. Each execution is elements of it. So there's a headline, there's a picture, there's body copy. Those are all separate elements. And once they go in, those 6 creative executions are actually 600 different creative executions. And this is where we just let the data work for us. So we're going to go in, and I'm going to show you my favorite slide next. We go in, and we no longer say we're trying to target concerned moms, we're trying to target young achievers. We're trying to understand which part of which message resonates with each consumer. And Facebook is serving up those ads as in real time to people who are responding. We're optimizing based on sale. So now we know who's actually responding, and then we go back. So we forgot about our segments for a while, and we're talking about each individual person. Then we go back and we say, from a segment perspective, how did we do? So we're back looking at Jean, our concerned mom. And this is this slide shows you why we don't ever pick the data that we're using to target, why we let the lookalike models do it, and the optimization do it. So if we were picking what data elements to target, parents, we're looking at a concerned mom. Parents was going to pop. You see a big circle over there for parents. Makes perfect sense. You see personal finance, online spenders. We still would have been doing good. If we were checking boxes, we would have been doing well. We would have had some good success there. Then we start getting into things like you see a big bubble for away from family. I don't think we knew that about Jean. So someone who's concerned about being away from their family, we're still in the neighborhood of what makes sense. Predictive variables that we weren't expecting. Jazz and blues. So Jean, our concerned mom, is a jazz and blues fan. We never were going to pick that variable to be predictive. My favorite is motorsports and NASCAR. So if you look down on the lower left of that quadrant, you see NASCAR popping as a predictive variable in this campaign. So Jean likes F1. We didn't know. So this is where we come back, we look at our segments, it helps us refine for the future, and we're able to use data in a way that we weren't before, and that's where this modeling and the lookalike modeling and the data that Facebook has becomes, because this is data that you obviously can't find anywhere else. So the results, this was something that actually, we're obviously very excited about it. Sheryl Sandberg shared this, highlighted at the Facebook earnings call in October. So we've all been really excited about our results so far. 2 times, it's better than our next performing channel by 2.5 times. Less than half the cost per premium. Cost per premium is how we measure, we're looking at how much does it cost us to bring in $1 of premium. This was less than half, and 49% decrease in a cost per lead. So pretty exciting results for us. And then John's going to just kind of bring it back. This is kind of where we've been. He's going to talk through 2015 and what we're going to do then.
Yeah, great. So number one, I hope to see the Facebook people buying Melissa a drink at the bar later on. Yeah, so one thing John Ebert asked me to do in sort of closing this is, just give a little bit of a look forward here. So as you can see, we're doing a lot with data here. We're sort of exploiting some of the platforms that are available and seeing some great results. The issue here becomes scale and sophistication here, right? And automation starts to play a really, really big role there. So as we go into 15, we're going to be hardening this architecture more. And you sort of think of it as we're managing all the data in one place, right? We have this notion, it's code word of Conductor. It's really using campaign management tools, automation to manage the people level data and build our campaigns, and then splitting that out into 2 different platforms, fundamentally different platforms. One which is the traditional cookie platforms, if you will, right, that we're all used to operating in, and then really starting to exploit automation to drive our people platforms. And you see some interesting examples up there, and then bring all that data back together, as you see on the far right there, to one picture of that consumer, building what we think of as the event stream for that consumer, and doing attribution at that point. So we have lots of these pieces here. But we have had so much success here that I think the automation of it is really what's going to happen next. And that's it. Thank you.